Hello everyone, this is Moni Castaneda with Feng Shui for Us, and today I want to talk to you about Feng Shui light bulb moments and crystal balls. So again, my name is Moni, and what I do for a living is I am a Feng Shui consultant, and how that translates into common language is that I help women and a few men with strong nesting instincts to turn their current homes into dream homes so they can start living their lives as dream lives. And so that's what Feng Shui does, in a nutshell. And so today, I want to talk about the Feng Shui light bulb moment. And the Feng Shui light bulb moment is that moment in time when a person realizes that, wow, the space really is so interconnected, so intertwined with the way we feel, the way we think, and the way we act. And so I want to share with you what was my Feng Shui light bulb moment, right? I studied architecture in my native country of Ecuador. And shortly after I graduated, I moved to the United States. And in the United States, I found out my degree was not accepted here. And so through a series of circumstances, most of them that seemed random at the time, interesting coincidences, I ended up becoming interested in Feng Shui. But I want to share with you the light bulb moment when I finally decided, yes, this is what I want to do for a living. I'm going to do Feng Shui for a living. And it has to do with building a house. I've been married to my husband I've known him for 26 years, and we've been married over 20 years. And when I first moved to the United States, I came to live with him in a one-bedroom apartment that was really tiny. And so after a year, we decided we're going to buy a house, and we bought the house in floor plans. It was one of those subdivisions that show you, they have a number of floor plans, and some of them, like this subdivision, had 8, and you could get them as is, you could flip them over like the mirror image, and you could actually make changes. So we chose a floor plan, and it was a 3-bedroom home with a master bedroom, the master suite as a loft. And it was a really clever design. It was really well designed in architectural terms. And so you know how a lot of people say, when you build a house with your husband, that's a test for the marriage. And if you can get through that, then you're at the other side of something, and you're just going to be able to stay together, because that's one of the most trying times in your life, is when you are actually building a house with your mate. And so we built a house, and of course there were some disagreements, we're normal people like everybody. And so we, you have to make so many decisions, choose the color of this, choose the material for that. And this floor plan, I had made some modifications on the floor plan. The floor plan, the way it was designed, it didn't meet my requirements for a kitchen. That was not going to be my dream kitchen. So I made some modifications. And as a result of those modifications, it turned out that the contractors were putting the cabinetry together in a way that the dishwasher was not going to fit. So we had to make some more changes. And we ended up with the sink centered on one wall with a large, beautiful garden window, and right up opposite it in the kitchen, there was the stove. And so we had the situation of the sink against opposite the stove, right? And so it didn't take long for my husband, after we have moved into this house, we started arguing a lot. And, just to give you a tip here, in Feng Shui, it's considered like a really big problem. It's considered to cause arguments to have the sink right opposite the stove. But I didn't know it at the time, because it was while living in this house that I got into Feng Shui, really. And so we had moved into this house, and this was supposed to be the happy time. The hardest part of building a house together was over. And then we started arguing more than ever. I mean, we were at each other's throats. And I just couldn't understand, because the things we were arguing about were things that were, after all, they were not so important to us. I mean, they were important, but not so important that we might say, hey, we're going to end this marriage because of these things. And so my light bulb moment, we're talking about Feng Shui light bulb moments. And by the way, if you're watching this live or whether you're watching the replay, say hello in the comments so I know that you've been here. And also let me know where you're connecting from. Let me know, like, if you're in the United States, in which state, or if you're in another country, what country. I live in Tennessee, in Knoxville, Tennessee, which is East Tennessee, which is a place I love. Okay, and so we're talking about the light bulb moment when you realize there truly is a connection between your space and what happens in your life. And this is what happened to me. We had moved into this house, and we started arguing, and we were arguing about things that seemed really important at the time, but in the big scheme of things weren't as important. So my husband had an issue with, he thought I should work out more. And because we had moved, now the gym I used to go to was too far for me to go to make it. And I had changed jobs. And so we were just having these horrible arguments because he thought I should work out more often. And I thought he should eat healthier. And so he had made some changes since we moved into that house. He read a book, and so he had added some things to his nutrition. My husband, Marco, right? And I was seeing that some of the choices he was making were not the best in terms of nutrition. And so I was so angry at him for eating that way, and he was so angry at me for not working out more. And so if you notice now, these arguments were all about health, right? Because nutrition is about health, working out is about health. And so around that time, we went to this festival, and I actually won my first Feng Shui book as a door prize. So here's how that happened. My husband and I were going to this lecture in this festival, and it was about some aspect of Chinese medicine. And when we got there late. And so it was an old-time slideshow, so all the lights were off. They had to be complete darkness for the slideshow to show. And so we sit down, and this lady taps on my shoulder, and I said, yes. And she says, hey, Beb and Rebecca from Hong Kong. Awesome. Let me know where you are connecting from as you're watching this video or the replay. And so I was telling about that, how I won this book, right, as a door prize. So this lady comes and taps me on the shoulder, and she hands me a book on Feng Shui. And I was already interested in Feng Shui, but I hadn't bought any books. And so she says, this is for you. And I said, why? And she said, you won the door prize. And then she tells me, they had all the names of the people that were participating in this lecture, that were assisting to this lecture. And so they picked up a name, and it was my husband's name, Marco Castaneda. And they said, Marco, he wasn't there. So they said, well, he's not here, let's get another name. And they got the other piece of paper out, and it was my name, Monica, my full name, Castaneda. And so they said, because they were holistic people, they said, this is a message, this book is meant for her. So they gave me this book. And the book was called 101 Feng Shui Tips for the Home. So I went home and I started reading the book. And one of the things I found was that if in your kitchen you have the sink right opposite the stove, right the way it was in our home, you're going to have a lot of arguments. And I was like, wow, that's what's happening in our house. We're having a lot of arguments, and we have the sink right opposite the stove. And then I saw, what is called the Bagua map, which tells you there's 9 life areas, and the Bagua map shows you where the life areas fall into your home. So I looked at the map, and I looked at my life areas, and my kitchen was right in the health midpoint of the home. So the health area of my home was the kitchen. And we were having these horrible arguments at each other's throats because he thought I should work out more, and because I thought he should make some changes to his nutrition and just eat healthier. And we were about to get divorced over this. I mean, hey, Susie from Iowa, let me know where you're connecting from. I love to see where people are connecting from. And so the story today is about my light bulb moment when I realized Feng Shui really does work. And so my husband and I were at each other's throats, and we were having these horrible arguments, and they were all about health. And it turns out that my kitchen was in the health corner, and it has this condition that in Feng Shui is believed to produce arguments, the stove right opposite the sink. And so I read what the cure was, and the cure was, you need to hang a faceted crystal ball from the ceiling in between the 2 features. And I'm like, crystal ball, this sounds like fortune telling. I don't think I want to do that. And so I went online and I searched for the faceted crystal ball, and it turns out, if you can see here, all it is, it's a prism. And what a prism does is it catches light and it redirects light, and sometimes creating rainbows, but it's always redirecting light. And so this was the cure that the book recommended to deal with this condition of having the sink opposite the stove, where that produced arguments. So I thought, what have I got to lose? So I got a crystal even bigger than this one. This is a 40 millimeter. It's about the size of a golf ball, but I got one that was even bigger. It was a 50 millimeter, so it's bigger than this. And traditionally, you're supposed to hang a crystal from a red string or a red ribbon, but I didn't want it to be conspicuous. I wanted it to not be noticed. So what I did is I used fishing line. So I hang the crystal in my kitchen in between the sink and the stove. And believe it or not, just 1 week later, we had stopped arguing. Sometimes we try to start arguing and then we start laughing, and all of a sudden the things we were arguing about, they didn't seem so important. Like my husband wanted me to work out more, and all of a sudden that wasn't as important anymore, and I wanted him to eat healthier. And then I started feeling like, if what he eats starts affecting his health, he should feel it. If you just joined the video, by the way, let me know where you're connecting from, because I love to see where people are connecting from. And so we're talking about this light bulb moment when I realized, wow, Feng Shui works. So my husband and I had a kitchen with a stove and a sink opposite each other, which according to Feng Shui creates arguments. And our kitchen was in the health midpoint of the home, and we're arguing about health. So I placed this crystal, right? I put this crystal up without hope of much anything, but I thought, what have I got to lose? Because we were literally on the verge of divorce around these arguments we were having. So within a week, the arguments stopped. They stopped completely. And we started getting along so much better. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this stuff really works. And the fascinating thing was, it was like seamless, we put up the crystal one day, and gradually, the next day we argued a little less and little less and little less, and within a week we were not arguing anymore. So that was my light bulb moment, because before I had an interest and a fascination with Feng Shui, but I had not decided I was going to become a Feng Shui consultant. But when I saw how that worked, that was amazing. And I said, well, I want to do, what else in my home could be changing the way we perceive life and affecting the way we treat each other and affecting our degree of happiness. So I wanted to learn more about that. And then I decided I want to help other people with Feng Shui. Because, the thing that scares me to death today, because we have such a nice family, we have 2 beautiful boys, and we have such a good marriage, and we're such a cohesive, strong couple. And we've been so happy together for over 2 decades, right? And so the thing that scares me and terrifies me to think is that if I had not found Feng Shui and learned about this cure to put in between my kitchen and my sink, we could have divorced, because we were at each other's throats. It was horrible. It was horrible the way we argued. My husband that I needed to work out more, and me that he needed to eat healthier. And so that was my light bulb moment. I thought, well, I want other people to be able to do this too. I want to help other people, because that was proof to me. Until then, Feng Shui just sounded really interesting. Oh, this is fascinating stuff. But to see that proof, and for me, it's terrifying to think today that if I had not found Feng Shui when I did, we could have divorced. We might not be together today, and our children wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have the beautiful boys we have right now today. Hey guys, come over so the people on my page can see you. You can see they just, you might have to comb that hair a little. Oh, but you need to comb. Look at that hair. Come on, sweetheart. These are my 2 beautiful boys, So to think that if I had not discovered Feng Shui when I did, my husband and I might have separated, we were headed towards the direction of divorce, and that we might not have stayed together, and we wouldn't have these precious beings here gracing the planet. Thank you, guys. And so that's what's scary. And so I wanted to know what other things can influence a person's life. And so I've been, shortly after that, I just started studying Feng Shui, and eventually I developed my own method of Feng Shui, the 9 Steps to Feng Shui system. And today that's what I do for a living. I look at people's spaces, and I see what's going on there, what things the space is telling me about their lives, that if I teach them about that and I teach them how to make corrections in their space, they can just start living a better life. And I get such amazing testimonials from people on how they finally feel, people tell me they finally feel like they are in control of what happens in their life. They're the drivers of the vehicle that is their life. Or if you want to compare it to a movie, you know, they feel like they're co-writers in the script of their own lives. And so that kind of power with Feng Shui is amazing. So you who are watching this video, share with me in the comments, what was your light bulb Feng Shui moment? When did you become interested in Feng Shui? How did you hear about Feng Shui for the first time? Tell me that. Also tell me what was that moment when you realized that Feng Shui was not just interesting but true? What was the evidence that you found that, yeah, the things that you're doing in your home are actually mirroring how you're living your life? And especially share with me about that moment when you placed a Feng Shui cure or you made a Feng Shui correction and things changed for you. So if you would do that for me, that would be amazing, because I love to hear those stories. So it's what I'm asking you to do is to share your light bulb moment with me. The moment when in your mind you realize that, yes, it is true that the space affects how you live, that the space is, first of all, it's mirroring what you already believe about life and the decisions and the actions that you're taking in your life. And also, what was that first Feng Shui cure that you applied in your home and you saw results? So that's what I would like from you, you know, let me know. And so I love doing Feng Shui. And I love helping people discover how their home is sabotaging their desires, their goals, and their purposes, and helping them see that, and helping them make the small changes that are going to turn their life around, that are going to give them that second chance that so many people want and so many people deserve. And so let me know, you know, what was that moment for you. But also in the comments, let me know, since you understand the power of Feng Shui and you have had this illumination, right, this light bulb moment that lets you know how important Feng Shui is. Let me know what would be the thing that I could create for you. What kind of service or what kind of course or what kind of program would you want me to create for you that you would say, yes, you know, immediately, that is the thing for me, and I am enrolling, or I'm getting that service, I'm hiring Moni. You know, I would like to know, what is the thing that you need the most? What is the thing that is, or tell me, what is the problem that you're dealing with that it seems impossible to solve? Because I tell you one thing, you know, when I was living in that home, in that kitchen, that a cure very similar to this one was the solution for. When I was in that moment, you know, it seemed to me that it was a problem that would be impossible to solve. Then it was so easy to solve, right? So let me know, like, what is the problem that you would like solved, or what is the service, what is the course, what is the program that you would like me to create for you that you would say immediately, yes, that's for me, I'm signing up. So again, you know, thank you for watching. My name is Moni. I'm a Feng Shui consultant, teacher, and author. And what I do is I help people turn their current homes into dream homes so that they can start living dream lives. Goodbye.